Okay, so here we are looking at the beginning of Vinci. This is really the setup. We looked at one set of pieces. I'd like to look at some of the others and see what's going on. Rebirth. What is that? Allows the player to declare an empire in decline at the end of a turn instead of at the beginning. That means you don't go through that penalty phase with declining an empire. Shipbuilding. Conquering another province on the same coast or across the sea costs 1 token less. If you have astronomy, you can go across the sea. So it makes it cheaper to make attacks that are along the coastline, kind of like Vikings. That's kind of cool power. What does that blue 1 mean, though? There's my question. Damned if I know. I think that means a 1-point combat bonus, but let's see what espionage. 1 conquest per turn costs only 2 tokens. See, there's like those blue values and the gold values. The gold ones are victory points, the blue ones are battle ones. They don't really serve a great deal of information. They're just sort of an image reminder. They don't totally tell you what is going on with that. Okay, let's look at the next one, diplomacy and livestock. Diplomacy says at the beginning of your turn you can choose an opponent. Neither can attack the other until the diplomat player's next turn. Okay, and that's only, I think, the civilizations, not the declining ones. I'm not sure about that. These things, are they better explained over in the blue area? Supplies only to, yeah. Okay, so these are just reminder cards. I would rather use this as my information. Livestock breeding. Prairie, the light green, that's this, earn an additional victory point. Livestock breeding comes in 2 different varieties, one with and one without the symbol of the broken column. I wonder what the symbol of the broken column means. That means they remain active during a declined empire. So you'd still score those extra victory points, and you'd keep that counter attached to the declining empire. Okay, militia and currency. Each time another player wishes to conquer a province with militia, it costs an extra token. It's harder to attack that person. That's probably not too valuable, but it comes with a lot of counters, 5 counters. Currency, each province earns an extra victory point, including mountains. That's very, very valuable, but it comes with 0 extra counters. So, you can see the better the event side of a choice, the less maybe counters that you're going to get to expand with. Heritage and agriculture. Heritage, I remember being really cool. You can expand into provinces adjacent to the player's own declining empire. I forgot to mention this. If you expand next to one of your declining empires, they vacate it. In this case, though, the declining empire is allowed to stay next to them, and you can keep attacking the declining empire if you wish, but basically it's a way to keep your victory points going. Your declining empire is less, and that's not terribly powerful. I'm surprised how few. It only gives 4 pieces instead of 5. Agriculture. Farmland provinces, the yellow ones, earn an extra victory point. And there are a lot of yellow and green provinces. That's why those are kind of nice abilities. This one comes with the column, if you look carefully, which means it'll last in decline. Doesn't give a lot of pieces, but that's still a pretty nice little point maker. And remember, points are what you're after here. And then we have mountaineering and medicine. Medicine's kind of interesting, and mountaineering's kind of funky too, actually. Mountaineering costs 1 less to attack mountains, and you get an extra victory point for that each turn if you're in the mountains, which means you get a victory point for being in the mountains. Medicine, I remember this one being funky. Civilization gets an extra token at the beginning of each turn, including the turn in which it enters the board. There's the extra token marker. It looks like victory points, but it's not quite the same color. And not a lot of troops. So its starting troops, though, isn't 2, it's 3. And as long as that empire is active, it keeps growing. Normally an empire loses all its troops. It doesn't get to keep growing. Well, let's start dealing some of these out. Yellow says, I'm just going to take this. That's good. It's a lot of pieces. It's a pretty nice setup. And then everything slides down. And we get a new pair. You see how these kind of interact. We'll see better when we play them. Here's an agriculture. We already know what that does. It's a double agriculture. So and one of them's in decline. So he's going to get 2 extra victory points for each yellow, and 1 once he goes into decline. That's kind of a cool little empire, not very military. Let's look at the second guy. Does he want rebirth and shipbuilding? Well, rebirth's very cool. Shipbuilding's not bad, right? Shipbuilding gives you the plus for attacking along coasts. Or does he want the diplomacy? See, diplomacy doesn't look that good to him, so he'll take this pair. Again, I like getting things cheap. It's very seldom that I'll pay when I'm playing, so my little alter egos are very much like me. We got another mountaineering, and now we got a weapons. We don't know what weapons does. It doesn't matter too much. Each expansion into a new province costs 1 token less, so you can attack a little cheaper. That's, I guess, nice. Livestock gives you bonuses. Now, this militia currency, I kind of like that. I think I like that better than the diplomacy livestock breeding. So green's going to actually pay 2 victory points over here to take this third set. Now you see, the player evaluation of the counters determines, whether or not they're worth victory points. Messages, remember, that allows you to be split apart, which I think is kind of cool. And mining. Mining gives you 2 extra victory points if you have a pickaxes in your province. Each province that you have pickaxes in is worth 2 victory points, in addition to whatever else it would be worth. That's a nice combination. Decent amount of counters. The messages allows you to break up your empire so you can grab the mines. But that's a lot of points to get. So here's the question. Does red want this combination? Heritage is almost valueless, so he's going to take this, and it's 2 extra victory points. Whoops. And that'll be his empire. Blue, well, let's see what their new choice is. 2 more. And it's very unlikely for someone to go after something that's expensive. So these are more what's coming in the future. And we see espionage and astronomy. We already talked about astronomy. We had that here. What is espionage? I looked at this briefly. A province can be conquered once per turn at a cost of 2 tokens, regardless of how heavily it's defended. All other modifiers are ignored, including type, civilization tiles, etc. This can be used once per turn and does not affect any other conquest. Well, that doesn't sound too terribly potent anyway. I think blue is also going to pay and grab the mountaineering and medicine. I don't know if that's worth paying for, but I really didn't like that other combination. Now we have this double agriculture, which has got to be huge, but there's almost no armies there. And that's a strong disincentive to go for it. Shipbuilding, remember coastal? Something that I shouldn't have in there. Comes with some spare counters. And everything's nicely, so everything's back printed with these. And diplomacy, and that's not terribly interesting. Well, black is going to take those points that blue gave them. And yeah, I love my little wooden pieces. They sure make life easy on me. We slide these down. And we grab another pair. Revolutionaries and mining. Well, what do revolutionaries do? The civilization can start in any province, not just on the edge of the board, and it must be conquered normally. Bonuses from the civilization's second tile are still applied where appropriate. Okay, well, that's no big shock. Okay, I took tiles for the black. There they are. All right. So that's the starting setup. Now we're ready to start playing. And I'm going to load that up on another video. And we'll start with the yellow player and go around counterclockwise. One thing, when somebody breaks 100 points, everybody still gets their remaining turns. So black will always be the last player. That's kind of a little klutzy to me. I feel like there may be an advantage to going last or first or something. It's just not clear. Certainly early in the game, there's a slight advantage, I think, to going first. Later in the game, I think there's an advantage to going last because you get to watch what everybody else has and you know exactly how many victory points you need on the last turn, which can be a huge difference. I'd rather go late in the game, I think. All right, up this one goes.